this is quite relevant because we will have a new administration, a new president in about 2 days. So here's a question for you, Erica, from this anonymous attendee. How can the new administration help in hastening the adoption of open banking and open finance?
Okay, so two things I think, or maybe three actually, that the new administration can help with. So it was mentioned earlier, infrastructure and connectivity, right? That's a big part of what a government should do for its country and for its people. So maybe not with just open banking, open finance, but it will help a lot of things move faster, right? So I also see here in the chat, sometimes your PIN takes long to arrive, and that's also because of connectivity issues. So that's one. Connectivity and infrastructure. Number two, so in various models in around the globe, right? It is the BSP or their version of the BSP that pushes for open banking and finance. And I think the BSP is doing this, they are doing their part, but that is also part of how the new administration can help this movement get along further. And thirdly, it's also allowing the people to understand, right? So aside from the infrastructure and connectivity, aside from the rules and regulations that they have set forth for the market players, it's also showing the people, right, that open banking, open finance is here not just to serve the banks, not just to serve the financial institutions, but it's here to serve the general population so that they become a part of the financial workplace, the financial industry, especially in our country, where I think only about 30% are banked. So that is an important factor for the upcoming administration to think of.
All right, we have another question here from Enzo Luna. I think it also refers to my issues about passbooks and paper transactions. With open banking and open finance, are we looking at the end of an era for paper cash money? And will this really start the revolution for paperless, cashless society? And are Filipinos ready for a totally cashless transactions?
Well, okay, so Rico, I think you could also answer this question because you are still part of a demographic, right? That's not quite there yet. So this movement definitely is the next step. But as I mentioned earlier, right, we're not going to leave anyone behind. So there are still Ricos of the world who would still feel better with the passbook, who would still feel better with paper transactions so that they have something that they could hold on to.
Maybe just like Enzo, he still wants that passbook. He still wants to transact and fill up a withdrawal and the deposit slip.
Well, yeah. So we completely understand that demographic will still continue, right? But slowly, I think the system or the space will transform. Maybe not immediately, but in the next decade, in the next few years, and that's what we're preparing for, right? But then it has to start somewhere. And I think the pandemic definitely was a turning point. 99% of Southeast Asia say they're slowly getting ready, slowly being open to going digital. And I think that is one big factor, is the people should be able to start within themselves to say, okay, I'm going to change my preferences. I'm going to change the way I do things. And that's the first step definitely of what's necessary so that there is more widespread adoption of open banking.
Here's another relevant question, but it still comes from the anonymous attendee. With open bank, we help Filipinos who live in the provinces, in the rural areas, have greater access to financial products and services.
Okay, so actually open banking has already helped us with that. So during the pandemic, Unionbank has realized that there were a lot of bank closures. And there were actually areas that don't have banks. So what we did was that we partnered with counters, for example, LBC, Cebuana Lulier, Palawan Pawn Shop, so that you could still receive funds, even if you're in far-flung areas. Coming from a Union Bank account, you get that cash in these counters instead, where there is more widespread locations, right? And also because it reduces that intimidation factor that people usually have with banks. So because of open API, we were able to connect with Simwana, with LBC, and we were able to serve customers who are in far-flung areas or customers that didn't necessarily belong in areas where banks continue to be open. So that's just a perfect example, right, of how open banking can reach across different partners, different locations, and serve even the customers that you didn't think we'd be able to.
Here's a question from Robert Bob Reyes from the Manila Bulletin, Tech News. More than connectivity and infrastructure, how can open banking and open finance bring the people's trust back in the local banking sector?
Well, I understand, right? Trust definitely is a big thing for the sharing of data for financial institutions per se. But I think what Union Bank did was we checked what were the usual activities that people already did. For example, buying something from Lazada or Shopee, paying with something from GCash or Maya Bank, for example. These are usual transactions that people have been doing, and we connected to these platforms so that you won't necessarily feel like it's open banking, but it's already a model or a usual behavior that you did. So slowly, right? If you're doing something over and over again, it's something that you've done actually, but without realizing it's already open banking, then that's how we do the strategy of you slowly trusting the system again, is to make you feel comfortable with the activities that you do that are actually already part of open banking without necessarily realizing it.
Here's a question from Jackie Pascual. I believe Jackie is from ABS-CBN. What types of data, this is about data privacy, what types of data or personal information are being or can be shared? How does this work? Can Bank A ask Bank B for an info of an individual or a person?
Yes. So it's not happening yet now between the banks, that's for sure. So just to clarify that, but that is supposed to be the next step of open banking and open finance. Usually the types of data that would be required, right? So for example, if you now open a bank account from another bank coming off or jumping off from your existing bank account, it's usually the 11-point KYC data that the BSP requires. So that it allows you or that it enables you to open a bank account from jumping off from one bank to the other.
Here's another question from July Rada. The questions from our media friends are really coming in thick and fast. How does open banking contribute to economic growth?
Okay, so economic growth. Okay, so going back to the example that we've had earlier, right? It's actually three things. Number one, it's adding people who were previously not part of the financial sector and making sure that they become part of it. That's one. So we believe that that in itself alone will be a big contributor to the economy. Number two, yes, definitely. And number two, it's seeing new products and services. So for example, the banks nowadays have a different way of credit scoring SMEs or MSMEs, right? So because of this, we're able to give them loans and therefore capital for their businesses. So that's the second step, right? Because of these new products and these new business models that we see, therefore that would be a bigger contribution financially to the economy. And thirdly, so that's financial inclusion, there's new products and services. And lastly, I think as a whole to help the Philippine economy move forward, right? It's not just about in the Philippines alone. Open banking and open finance, next step eventually is being able to do these transactions with offshore counterparties. And so that in itself also could be an opportunity that we have yet to see.
We have a question here from Jane Umatiao. She has her own blog. It's called titatechi.com. Hi, Jane. Her question is, I've always wondered if it is part of data sharing policy that when a customer unilinks his unlinks his Union Bank account from another service like an e-wallet or shopping app, that customers' information that was shared previously is actually deleted from Union Bank's and apps databases. I actually use my Union Bank account across different services and find it very difficult, very convenient rather. But I have always wondered. We have to always read it very carefully. Every word counts and find it very convenient. That's the word, convenient. But I have always wondered about data privacy and security.
Thank you for that. Thank you for pointing out that yes, it's convenient, it is seamless, and that is the end goal, right? To make it better for you, to make it more useful for you, so that you could use your account for different things. Now, in terms of data privacy, there is a specific key that every year that expires, and you have to every year consent again if you want to continue using that service. So it just makes sure number one that the data that we have, you want us to continue having it. And again, the consent is back to you, right? Whether you want to us to continue that service that we are providing. So yeah, it's a continuous thing. It's not a one-time thing. It happens every year, and we do that because of security reasons, security purposes, and that's just an example, right, of how we want to make sure that you get comfortable with sharing your data and you get comfortable using open banking as a whole.
All right, from data privacy and security, we'll jump now to another topic. Erica, how's your voice? How's your voice? Are you okay? Maybe can...
I'm okay so far. I'm trying. I'm surviving. I'm thriving.
So now we have this question from Nicole Paler. Any chance that we can see lower convenience fees whenever we transact via cashless apps or doing open banking in the long run? Most of my elders, maybe parents or grandparents, are not open to using apps, with feeling more lost than what they're just paying for, aside from the learning curve that is needed to transition from, yes, indeed, passbooks, just like myself, and deposit and withdrawal slips to banking apps.
Yeah, so in terms of service fees, eventually, right, the end goal is as long as more users get into the platform, as long as there are more transactions, then the economies of scale start to happen. And when economies of scale start to happen, costs should go down. And as costs should go down, even the service fees should be translated to the end consumer, and that should go down as well. So yes, the end goal is to eventually, right, lessen the service fees. Now, in terms of getting used to removing the passbooks, the papers, and learning how to transfer your money, your funds, getting deposits, getting withdrawals, and doing everything online, it may not happen for a specific person now, but maybe eventually, right, it will, because you'll realize, I don't want to go to the branch anymore, go through traffic, park, especially now gas is expensive, right? I want to be able to do that in the comforts of my own home for a service fee of, let's say, 25 pesos. Your gas is more expensive now. Your time is more expensive than that. So those are just things, right, that we need to consider. What is the upside and what is the downside of doing things online?
Well, yeah, you're right. No, why will I still go to my bank branch when gas is and diesel will get ever so closer to 100 pesos per liter? Now I have to rethink my strategy
Yes.
and
Yeah.
transfer funds and
And
making
your time, Rico, your time.
time.
Yes,
Yeah,
and your
time.
effort, right?
Like all
And
of us in media, we work 24/7. We eat, sleep, and breathe news and finance news. So here's a question from a friend who I've known for many, many years, Lichi Pongyan. This question is for her. How many customers have Union Bank onboarded with Open Finance, and how many partnerships do you have with e-money issuers or financial service providers? Follow
okay,
up is by how many more clients do you expect to get via these digital platforms, Erica?
sure. So right now, about 1 million customers of Union Bank have already linked their Union Bank account across all of these e-commerce and e-wallets. So that's a big deal, right? Considering that you wouldn't have expected that number to be quite so large on the onset and immediately. It started out at 500. Now we're seeing about a million already. So that's already 50% growth, actually 100% growth in such a short time period. In terms of who we've connected ourselves to, I think the main objective for us is to look across the sector, look across the fintechs, the e-wallets, the third parties, and see which ones are the ones that are super used or are the ones that are highly used by the general population. And we start with that, right? Because at the end of the day, usage and the use cases is what drives open banking, right? Why would we necessarily connect with something that won't necessarily be used by our customers? And so, in terms of the partners that we've onboarded, we've done this with the major e-wallets and the major e-commerce names, and we're not stopping there. To be honest, we're also looking at doing the linkage with investment companies. So, for example, you want to buy stocks, we're doing that, and we're allowing you to link your Union Bank account to these like stock brokerages so that you could also do investments online. Sorry, what was the last question, Rico?
Follow-up is by the end of end 2022, how many more clients do you expect to get via these digital platforms? You have a number?
Meaning to say my personal target.
Yeah, why not?
So after this call or after this, I'm hoping it will double again.
Double to what? You have a number?
Fearless forecast, we're hoping around 2 million.
2 million by end 2022.
Yes.
From 1 million right now.
Yes.
So that's double. Okay. So that's the story. So,
we're
okay.
hoping, so I hope that after this it will really push the needle and that people realize, oh my gosh, it's open banking and I've been using it, so why not? And then usually what we've realized as well is that people tend to get onboarded into something more because of referrals, right, by people that they know. So we hope that that organic growth will continue so that even the open banking and open finance revolution will continue organically to grow that way.
That's true. It's all about referrals, no? From friends, from relatives. O dito na tayo magbangko sa Union Bank. Meron silang maganda yung kanilang digital platform. Meron silang open banking and open finance. So here's multiple questions. I mean, Jessica Fenol from ABS-CBN and Lee have the same question for you. Union Digital will be launched when? And how big will your digital bank contribution make in your overall open finance marketplace?
So actually, projecting that Union Digital will launch this July. So this July, we're expecting that they're going to hit the ground running. In terms of like how big we project Union Digital will help in our bottom line, I can't say that for sure now, but we are hoping that it will be a big contributor to the main bank as well, because the idea is that Union Digital will also serve a certain sector of open banking and open finance, which we don't see as of yet or right now, but we are hoping it will be a large one.
And, you know, earlier we were talking about customer experience, right, Erica? I mean, talking to someone on the other line and asking more questions about, you know, digital platforms and all the digital services that Union Bank offers. I just saw here in the chat box from Jane, and she wants to, it's just basically her thoughts, no? I wish there was a built-in live chat on the apps, right? It is a horrible experience to reach a customer service agent via phone. Like chatbots.
Yes, definitely. So we are working on that, the chatbots. It's not a new technology. A lot of other financial institutions and other banks have used it already. So we are planning to input that into our Union Bank online app as well. I understand, right? Because actually a lot of people have said that will open banking and open finance remove the personalization, right? Of going to the bank branch, talking to your branch manager, talking to your RM. So in my mind, actually, it shouldn't remove the personalization aspect, but it should enhance it. So how, ask me, will it enhance the personalization of products and services? So it could be done, for example, that because we have better insights on who Rico is, we can offer you better services or better products that are more suited to your lifestyle, Rico.
Mhm.
Because definitely your capacity as Rico Hizon will be different from Erica's.
Oh my, what kind of capacity are you talking about? Oh my gosh, low capacity. Okay, here's a question from Richie from Interaction. I want to ask if Union Bank has specific cybersecurity measures in place to assure those who are hesitant about going full digital. Which is parang part-time. Like for example, in terms of communication, does Union Bank have a specific channel or number of clients or number clients or specific channel or number clients should only trust?
So, sorry, is the question, does that mean does the bank have only a specific set of clients that we should
No,
trust?
like for example, in terms of communication, does Union Bank have
Ah,
a specific channel or maybe telephone number client or clients should only trust?
okay, sure. So, this also usually attunes to the fact that you only get communication from the official ones. So, in terms of the avenues, we also use social media, in fact. So, there is an official Union Bank page where we will show you the official guidelines of what to follow, what links that you could click on, what links you shouldn't click on. Plus, there are specific text messages that you should get specifically from Union Bank. So I know I've seen a lot actually of like weird, wrong English, wrong grammar pa nga na text messages. So be sure that that's not an official one. So let's just stay vigilant and ensuring that we don't get tricked into these types of methodologies that fraudsters use.
There's a question here. I don't know if I should be asking it, but it was last question from Jessica Fenol. Any plans to acquire ING Bank's retail banking segment?
I'm not in a position to answer. Baka
Well,
umakyat yung
this
stock.
might be the headline. This might be the headline. Okay.
I know. Baka umakyat yung stock namin. So no, I'm not in a position to answer
Okay.
that. I'm not sure, yeah.
Yeah, but it just got into my Q&A box. Here's another question. We have like maybe a time for one more. May I ask how Union Bank makes extra measures against phishing scams, knowing you only allow accredited establishments get access to the bank's OTP numbers?
So in terms of cybersecurity and phishing scams, like I think we've mentioned it earlier, right? The steps that the bank has taken. So obviously, aside from education, there are various system upgrades that we do on the back end to make sure that this doesn't happen or we reduce the risk of that. If I told you all of them, then the fraudsters would probably learn from this and then they'll do something. So maybe I shouldn't really necessarily share all of them with everyone.
Fear Erica, you fraudsters.
Passbook.
That's the safest way, the passbook. But still, it still goes through the digital channels. So things can still happen.
Yeah, these things still happen. But yeah, it doesn't take out the fact, right, that I mean, all of these things will continue to happen regardless whether we were digital or not, right? There will still be fraudsters even if we continue doing things the old way. It's just a matter of us being vigilant and of us trying to also becoming creative in different means and ways of how to reduce that risk. So it shouldn't necessarily stop us from taking the next step or the step forward, right, into open banking and open finance.
Okay, last question from Enzo Luna once again. Online and digital banking is great. It is convenient, fast, but we can't exactly say it is safe because of rampant hackings. And one of the reasons would not to go digital banking is when some clients experience delays or their transactions didn't get through, but their accounts were credited. How would you reconcile this with clients and the unbanked to support open banking? Last question for you, Erica.
Sure. So I guess going back, right, even if we didn't go digital, hackers would still exist. They would probably be hacking you guys in a different way anyway. So let's just keep that in mind, because I mean, sure, even if we go digital, or if we don't go digital and you still continue using your passbook, there is still a way for these hackers to get your funds one way or another. So as I mentioned, right, just because that happens, it will happen in both scenarios. So the question really now begs to differ is that what is the cost to us also of not going digital? What is the cost of us of not going into the open banking and open finance space? So the challenge really is for all of us, the government, the various players in the industry, even our customers, right? To remain vigilant, to understand its benefits, to understand what can I and cannot give consent to, what I should and should not give consent to. Those are important factors, right, that we always have to think of. So yeah, I mean, in terms of trust and in terms of the unbanked, when we say unbanked, a lot of them actually don't have bank accounts, but they do have GCash. And actually, using GCash in and itself already is slowly becoming part of the financial system, right? And even all of these other e-wallets have to face different fraud transactions, different risks. It's just a matter of being able to appropriately fix them or set them in such a way that even if those things happen, there is a way to write that. And we are continuously doing that as well and doing our part in the financial sector.
Well, that's one of my milestones as well over the past 2 years, Erica. Apart from the passbook, I now use e-wallets.
See, I told you one way or another, I know you're using open banking. So it's just a matter of realizing, oh my gosh, it's open banking. Oh my gosh, I'm already doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Taking baby steps.
Yes, definitely baby steps, but that's a good start, right? And that's why we're here today, to take you through that journey, to help you take those baby steps until you realize this is already part of what you're doing in your daily life.
Wow, fantastic information and insights on open banking and open finance. Thank you so much, Erica Dizon. Thank you so much. Let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you so much for answering all of these very challenging questions from the media. Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you so much for having me here today. To the media and to our media friends, thank you for being interactive, right? It fills my heart to know that you guys are interested in knowing what open banking, open finance is, and how it could revolutionize the financial sector slowly, small steps, baby steps, one step at a time. But definitely Union Bank is here to walk you through that process and to help everyone here understand what it truly is, so that we could slowly move into that direction. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. And if we were